Welcome to I Drink, Therefore I Am, a think tank media podcast hosted by international spirits educator and whiskey ambassador Martin C. Duffy. Each episode, Marty sits down with distillers, brand builders, and industry insiders to talk about the craft, the culture, and the business behind the spirits world. Pour yourself something appropriate, and let's get into it.
Hello, everyone. I'm Martin Duffy, and this is I Drink, Therefore I Am. And this, by the way, if you see this little guy, that's Shadow Tuna, who's actually a distillery cat. I got Shadow from the Journeyman Distillery in Three Oaks, Michigan. So, hello. Yeah. So ask her some questions about whiskey. She'll give you a cat's point of view on it. But today's episode is all about Canadian whiskey, and that's why I brought on the man. He is the man. I can't think of anybody else in Canada, who's as knowledgeable, who has his finger on the pulse, Canadian whiskey, than Davin de Kergommeaux. Did I say that right?
Well, thanks very much for having me on, Marty. I'm pretty keen. We've known each other for a long time now, and it's good to get together electronically every once in a while.
Well, you are you're in the Great White North. You're trapped up there in Canada, so it's very hard nowadays. It used to be you could just drive up there. Now you gotta have passports. They go through your stuff.
Yeah, I don't like that.
No, me either. I used to take bobsleds, dog sleds up there.
I'm sure the dog sleds are out further north, but we do have a lot of snow on the ground. You just look out my window here.
Well,
it snowed quite a bit.
I'm in Chicago, and it snowed a great deal the other night. Huge. And so if we got it, I know you guys got it.
Yeah, and my arms are killing me today because yesterday was my first day shoveling the driveway, and I was not going to use a snowblower on the first day. And
you got to be careful though nowadays. We're at that age. Shoveling, that's usually the number one reason for
Yeah. Well, you're 106, man, so you're at least 10 years older than me.
I am, but I am immortal. So yeah, shoveling snow won't affect me, but you mortals, you humans. Yeah. So Davin, we got to talk because, it's fascinating. The world of whiskey here in the U.S. has been struggling.
Yeah, really.
I mean, it just seems like a perfect storm of things have happened in the last number of years. Obviously, COVID threw a big wrench into the on and off premise sales, distilleries, a lot of distilleries. It was amazing. So many folks commented on it afterwards that it was a recession-proof industry. People drank when it was good, times were good. They drank when times were bad. Now, that really hit them. A lot of distilleries lost a lot of revenue from tourism, a lot of revenue from just sales and the on and off premise. A lot of bars. We've lost 2 whiskey bars in Chicago in just the last couple of months. People aren't going out like they used to. You got younger people aren't drinking as much, which is both a good and bad thing. Obviously bad for the industry, but not a bad thing for them. It's always a problem in the past that young people drank too much. You got non-alcoholic spirits, cannabis, both cannabis spirits and just pot in general have had an upswing. Now that's here. What's it looking like in Canada? What's happening up there?
Well, yeah, those same trends can be seen up here, but I think to a significantly smaller degree than what we're seeing in the United States. And quite honestly, we do have America to thank for the spirits industry that is burgeoning when it seems to be in decline just about everywhere else, because we kind of voluntarily stopped drinking foreign spirits, and people are really looking to buy Canadian and support Canadian. And, we have a whiskey like, I didn't do this for a prop, but whiskey like Rifle Rye, which has more than doubled its sales this year. I don't know if you get that in the States.
No, I haven't seen it. We may.
But so many distilleries are reporting increases. In fact, just about all of them who will report are reporting increases. 40 Creek, I talked to the brand ambassador, and he says, so sales are up, we can't keep up with it. Talk to the people at headquarters, and they say, we can't comment. Well, 40 Creek, that's, Wild Turkey and the whole Campari crowd, and they're less open about it. We hear that things are really going well with Canadian clubs going crazy, and so is Alberta Distillers. Those are two distilleries owned by Beam Suntory, and their whiskeys are really all increasing in sales. Like we see numbers like 65% increase in sales and things like this. I have talked to people at some of the private liquor stores, and they're saying, people are coming in here and they're skipping over American whiskey, if there is any on the shelves, and going straight to Canadian. And when the current administration in the States started talking about Canada as a 51st state, there was an instant reaction. The politicians talked about it and they made grand statements in this, but just about every Canadian up here got the same feeling, we're going to stick with Canadian produce. It's not just whiskey, produce, just anything. We buy Canadian's a big thing. I told you that I did a book tour this fall. That's because the biggest bookstore in Canada, they sent me a text, I said, buy Canadian is the thing this year. Would you be willing to do a tour of our stores? So I went to Alberta and Quebec and all over Ontario promoting my book, and it's selling like crazy. And it really doesn't matter what it is. Suddenly, we decided that we were going to, support Canadian. There also was a strong movement to find substitutes for bourbon, because most of the provincial premiers just ordered all the liquor stores to stop selling bourbon, period. Even the stuff they had in stock wasn't for sale anymore.
Really?
And, yes.
I was wondering about that as far as them. I figured there had to be a plentiful supply up there already. And I understand all the tariffs and all that started impeding importing it. But I thought, they must still have loads to sell. But so they stopped selling what they even had, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and like importers were suffering because they had big inventories that they couldn't even get out of the warehouses. It was really bad. Now the bars were okay. The bars that had a good stock, they're running out. They've run out by now. But Alberta now has gone back to selling American spirits, and so they're doing some there. But even then, you talk to Kensington Wine Market, which is like the best liquor, the best whiskey store in Canada. Andrew Ferguson, you might know, and he says that even with American spirits being on the shelves, Canadian spirits are still miles ahead, and it's the same in BC and Victoria at the Strath. I think you've been to the Strath.
Yeah,
people are walking right past the American whiskey and buying Canadian whiskey, and American tourists are coming here and buying American whiskey. In the beginning, they were looking for substitutes for bourbon. Well, let's get that over with right now. We make a lot of bourbon in Canada. None of it tastes as good as what you make in Kentucky. It's not a comparison. It's like making it. Yeah, I'm sure if you guys made bourbon in Alaska, it wouldn't taste as good as Kentucky.
Well, why do you think that is? Was there a difference in the production?
No,
or is it just the geography?
I think it's geography. You get those wonderful summers, and you have those tall rick houses, We're maturing in one-story warehouses, and we're not getting that same thing. So when it comes to blending your bourbon at the end, we can't go to the 10th floor and get, bourbon that's just saturated with those wonderful woody notes, And so we can use the same barrels, we can use the same mash bills, but we can't so that we don't make the same whiskey. But here's another, like this 40 Creek Niagara whiskey, which is finished in fresh wild turkey barrels. This people, when I've been pouring it at my tastings this fall, people are over and over saying, "Wow, that's got a real bourbon flavor to it," and it's true, it does. But you can really taste the bourbon, the vanillas and the caramels, and some of the tannins as well. But nobody makes bourbon like Kentucky, and maybe Tennessee, but I think the farther you get from Appalachia, the less chance you have of making a decent bourbon.
Well, when I was going to the Victoria Whiskey Festival, which I highly recommend to folks, I think that's such a fun event, and actually it drove up my opinion of Canadian whiskey because you saw so much, especially in the West. I really loved what a lot of those distilleries were doing. There was a real amalgamation of different influences. There seemed to be a lot of Scots who had distilleries out there. Even some guys trying to make peated single malt scotches, Canadian Scotch whiskey. But I didn't see a huge presence of American whiskey there. There was loads of Canadian, loads of Scots. I mean, actual Scotch whiskey and Scotsmen coming over from Scotland. So I assumed those were still at least in the West, the western part of Canada, still the big sellers was Scotch and Canadian. But was American whiskey really much of a...
American whiskey has significantly increased in popularity over the last decade. I know the American distillers are invited to Victoria, but not a whole lot of them do. I think Brown-Forman is going to be there this year, and they make, pretty awesome whiskey, let's be honest. And I'm sure they'll be I bet there'll be lineups at their table because people haven't had their bourbon for so long. But I think people are discovering that their own Canadian whiskey is pretty awesome. And I think once this nonsense is all over, that a lot of people are going to leave a lot of Canadian whiskey in their rotation for sure. And it wasn't the tariffs that turned us off. It was this saying talking about Canada as a 51st state. And this problem could be fixed. If the current administration would simply apologize for making that statement, which is pretty disrespectful, and promise never to do it again, I'll bet you $1 those whiskeys would be back on shelves in no time.
Davin, I have to admit, I was saying it before the administration was. I always thought Canada is the 51st state. You're very much like us. And I just thought, you know what? Hey, you guys, we could have been one enormous country. What was it, 1812? There was like a little small incursion. There was some American troops that went up into, was it Montreal or something? And there was a little battle. And then they got their butts kicked and they said, all right, screw it.
We whopped their ass, burned down the White House, then shook hands and said, let's see you at Thanksgiving.
We burnt that. Yeah, you had the Brits. Well, I guess you guys were still kind of British then too. All right, whatever.
We're still kind of British now.
Yeah, I know. It's very confusing.
But we love America and we love Americans. It's our favorite place to go. But
I know.
We're not Americans.
My sister lives in Sarasota and she's always talking about the Canadian snowbirds that come down there. So many Canadians own homes in Florida and they come down, I guess, in the winter. That's right. Yeah, that'd be wintertime. They come down there to the warmth of the Gulf. Actually, the Gulf is not that warm. I found that out the hard way one time. The first time I ever went down to Florida. The Gulf can be pretty cold in the wintertime.
My dad used to go there, but then he started going to Mexico and found it was a lot warmer there.
Oh yeah. So let's talk a little bit about just within Canada. One of the things I was told by a number of distilleries when I went to the Victoria Whiskey Festival was that it was tougher for them to get distribution in the other provinces especially the eastern provinces, than it was to even get distribution in the US, which I found surprising. But I know that Ontario is a tough nut to crack. Is it not? Is it still?
Yeah. Ontario is the biggest consumer of spirits in Canada. It's run by one organization, the government, provincial government. It's the second largest purchaser of beverage alcohol globally. I think Costco is first.
Oh, really?
And they don't seem to give a hoot about spirits. What they want to do is they want to sell the ones that will have
The biggest
bring
sellers.
them the most profit, because most of the profit from selling spirits in Ontario goes to the government. They have their markups and they have their taxes and their 101 different ways to charge it. They run the stores, which are just, they waste so much space. You know, it's really telling that this one liquor store in Calgary, Alberta, 1 year, and this was probably 6 or 7 years ago when I was there, they had 1,100 different whiskeys on the shelf, and that's 1,003 facings, because each brand got one facing. And that was more than 600 LCBO stores carried in a whole year. I could see 1,100 bottles, different bottles in Calgary in one day. And if I went to the LCBO, every LCBO in Ontario, every time they brought in new whiskey, every time they brought in new spirits, I still would not see that many. They just don't care. And it seems to be the same with the other provinces. And Alberta is a bit of an exception, because they seem to be encouraging the spirits industry there, both the small distillers, but they also have 3 of our major distilleries. You know, they have Alberta Distillers, obvious. Black Velvet, which is the second best-selling Canadian whiskey, is in Alberta. And then there's Highwood, which produces a lot of Buyer's Own brand stuff and things like that. So Alberta, they're getting together now trying to form their own Alberta Whiskey Association, and good for them. I'm at the political level. Good for them, because it's really happening there. In Canada, the government is an impediment. The provincial governments are, generally speaking, an impediment to making good whiskey.
We found that here in the U.S., we have control states, Michigan, Ohio, Iowa, I believe. There's a bunch where the government is the distributor, basically, and they own the stores, and so it's tough. I remember when I used to work for Diageo, and the Diageo wanted to get the classic malt line, the 6 classic malts, single malt scotches into Ohio. They had to do 1 whiskey at a time, and they could not get all 6 in at that point. I don't know if things have changed, but I thought it was so crazy. It was like, look, this is how they're being promoted across the country. Why wouldn't you want to take them? They're being advertised for you, blah, blah, blah. And then also a lot of states fight. And a lot of times this has to do with, in states that aren't control states like Illinois, very large distributors who have a lot more influence with the government. And they fight against self-distribution for the smaller distilleries. And they'll even limit how much a small distillery can produce. And all of this is just crazy, because you're thinking that's revenue. That's taxes going to you, to the state. That's you're doing all this for the benefit of some other company and some other organization, and you're also killing the potential for tourism, more tourism dollars. Have distillery trails. But you see, like in Illinois, I think the Distillers Guild, which is their own association, they begin to wear down a lot of the politicians, and slowly but surely. But Why it has to take so long and be so difficult? It's just so dumb. You know?
Dumb. No, that is the perfect way to express it. Yeah. Alberta's going to set up a whiskey trail. And, you know, like they have like about more than 30 distilleries, good distilleries in Alberta. You have like 5 or 6 that you could technically get to and visit in a day. I think 4 is about my maximum, but so you could have a real, like people could spend a week in Alberta to visit all these distilleries and see some wonderful touristic sites like the Rocky Mountains, like the Badlands, you know, like Dinosaur Park, things like that. There's so much else there. People could come and they could if they just visited, say, 4 distilleries a day, there'd still be time for all kinds of really interesting stuff. And it's like Alberta's open for business as this for whiskey trail business, and everybody else. It really annoys me because I live in Ontario, and Ontario was way ahead of the game when the craft distillery movement came along. We were out there when everybody else was still thinking about it, and our government just let them wither. And Alberta and BC have come along, and they've just taken over. Alberta and British Columbia are the 2 most happening places for craft distillers, craft whiskey now. And look at the things they're doing with malt, like beer malts and things like that. Marty, go ahead.
Is that Vancouver Island that Victoria's on?
Yes, it's on Vancouver Island.
And there's how many distilleries just on that island?
I can't remember, like 5 or 6, maybe 7.
I thought they took us, I think there was a tour, during one of the shows, and they hired a bus that took us to a number of them. And I thought that was great. Plus, that's a beautiful island. I mean, that's really nice. But with Alberta, you look at Canada on a map. I don't know if you noticed this, Davin, but Canada is a really big country geographically. And you look at those provinces, they're massive. And you say, it's one thing if I want to go on a distillery tour through Kentucky. Now, I will tell you this: don't go. You go east, or I went from west to east. That's Kentucky's a lot longer than it is wide or high or whatever. That was a little more daunting than I thought it was going to be. Still, it's very doable if you give yourself, like you say, a week. You can probably hit all the distilleries. But Alberta is that's big. Well, look at you.
Mm-hmm. Edmonton is that red dot, a little more than halfway down. Your tour would start in Edmonton and it would go down to Red Deer and to Calgary. And you could go south of that if you want to go down to Eau Claire Distillery, Black Velvet, and places like that. You don't have to be intimidated by everything north of Edmonton because
I
know. Like it's there, but you can get I can't remember how long it takes to drive from Edmonton to Lethbridge, maybe 5 hours, maybe 7. And in between, you'd stop so many times. You'd have to spend the day in Red Deer and see the mall things, because it's craft mall things there. It's not just distilleries; it's all the support industries, and and you can see interesting grains, and it's like they've embraced this. Of course, you have to remember Alberta is I think it's the world's major barley producer. I think a lot of the Scottish whiskey is made from Alberta barley. Yeah, it's really good. But they also have the best rye in the world, and you cannot beat Alberta Distillers rye. Nobody can make it better than that. Millstone's right up there with them, but nobody else in Canada or the U.S. can make rye the way Alberta Distillers makes it. That's just a fact of life.
Well, if I went driving up there, though, am I going to be attacked by moose or bear?
Well, you might want to bring protection, but it's not. It's cowboy country, and we have real cows and real cowboys, and we have the stampede, and we have all these things, but it's not. I mean, it's as modern state as any. I mean, it's certainly more settled and more cosmopolitan than, say, Wyoming. You know,
I know. I tease my Brian Christensen, who now works with us at Glencairn and has Artisan Spirit magazine. He's out of Spokane, Washington, and he does have moose in his backyard every once in a while. And I go, I'm a Chicago boy. It's a big deal if we see a possum, here. You have a moose or a grizzly, I'm gonna be shocked.
I have not ever seen a grizzly. I've seen lots of black bears and brown bears, and if you just walk away, they won't bother you. If it's a moose, I've seen lots and lots of moose. They even come into our city every now and then, but you just don't approach them. If you don't approach them, you don't have a problem.
I think they see me as a
you're not
kindred spirit, though. A lot of times they approach me, and I just can't help them. They want me to take them home. I go, no, I can't. I just don't have room for another.
Well, the truth is, though, that they can be a bit like distillery cats, and you have to be careful. No, they eat the vegetation. They go out in the swamps, and they don't want to be bothered. And in the fall, we go out and harvest them and eat them all winter.
What? You eat the moose?
I was raised on moose, my friend. Moose meat.
I've never had moose meat. I've never had
I'm not
moose
kidding.
meat.
Yeah, my uncle would go out and he'd get a moose and then take it to a butcher, and the butcher would make it into all the cuts that you would ever find in the grocery store, and we ate moose meat.
We had a young fellow who's on a hockey team that my niece's husband is a hockey coach, and he had all these his players over for Thanksgiving, and one of them was from BC, a small town in BC. He was telling me how if you ever hit a moose, he was told, if you ever drive into a moose, don't slow down, actually speed up, and then duck when you hit them. Now, this will not save your car, but the moose will flip up on top of the roof of your car, smash it, but then you'll be safe if you duck down. Look at that.
You want to be below the level of the steering wheel if you hit a moose, because it's going to come through your windshield, and it comes through the horns first. The antlers hit first, and that's the most dangerous part of a moose. Wow.
Well, I've asked Brian. I just found this out recently. And I don't know why I'm fascinated with moose. I've always loved moose. Maybe it's because I watched Bullwinkle as a kid. But moose antlers, I've always wanted a set. How did you see them mounted? And I thought, but I don't want to kill a moose to get them. And I found out they shed them. I go, you find a pair laying around, ship them over here. I'll have them mount. Anyways,
they shed them one at a time, though. So.
Oh, really?
They don't both necessarily come off at the same time. They'll come off about the same time, but not in the same place necessarily.
Oh, man. I want a set. All right. So anyways, we're digressing off the whole whiskey thing. Now, are you heading out to Victoria next? It's going to be next month in January.
Couple of weeks, yeah. I'm heading out there, yeah.
And so how do you see the smaller distilleries? Those are the ones I really fell in love with out there. And I used to work for Crown Royal for many years. I represented Crown Royal down here in the States and was blown away by how dedicated folks were to it. There was a cult around Crown Royal, especially like in Texas and Kentucky, Tennessee, anywhere around NASCAR, huge.
Yeah.
That's why I was blown away when I go to Victoria, and there was all these smaller distilleries making these really great whiskeys. I thought, wow, how come nobody ever trumpets these? At least down here in the U.S. How do you see, how have they been holding up? They've been doing well? Has all this
I think
resurgence of national pride been benefiting them?
Yes, they have been, generally speaking, doing well. They have really taken advantage of the Buy Canadian thing. I know some small distillers just can't keep some of their labels in stock. They're selling so much that, and you can't just kind of ramp up, from 2 pallets to 20 pallets. It's so they don't have that much in reserve. But yeah, they've been doing well. A lot of them have been doing well in Canada, just in their general growth, like a place like Sons of Vancouver, just making amazing, wonderful whiskeys. Now, Shelter Point is in the United States. I think they have 3 different Shelter Point whiskeys available at least in the Northwest, like Ripple Rock, and I think they have their 10-year-old or their 12-year-old single malt. They have a few whiskeys in there, and they've had a successful launch in Canada now of their 10-year-old at LCBO. I don't know how they got anyone at LCBO to buy that whiskey, but anyways, they did. And of course, now that it's on the shelves, everybody wants to try it. That's good. So the small distillers have not suffered the same way that they may have in some other countries. And honestly, this boost couldn't have come at a better time, because it's going to get a lot of them through. Some are suffering, no question. It's going to get a lot of them through, this lag period. You start out, and everything's fine, and then you hit this kind of plateau. And I think this has helped some of them off the plateau. Okanagan Spirits, for example, says that they have, I think, like 4 or 5 different bourbon whiskeys. They call it BRBN, and I think their sales are 8 times what they were last year.
Wow!
And that's pretty significant. And they're lucky because they were one of the first to craft distillers, so they've got a lot of barrels put away. And through careful blending and maybe changing the label a little bit, they've been able to really keep up with the demand. And some of the others, so like Sleeman's Sleeman used to be one of the top 3 brewers in Canada. They have a distillery, a spring mill, and they make what they call a straight whiskey. It's a Scottish style distillery, but they make an American style straight whiskey, and they simply cannot keep up with sales. They simply can't. And honestly, I think given 1 more year, that would be a lot better whiskey, but they just cannot keep up.
So, your book, Canadian Whiskey, people haven't seen this, and people want to learn more about Canadian whiskey in general. This is the book. This is basically your one-stop to learn all about it. Now, so this is your 3rd edition, so you've updated it with more info about a lot of the newer distilleries that have come online.
Yeah, it's really a significant update. I told them I would need more pages, and so they gave me more pages. But I've got a lot more history in it. I've got I think 120 tasting notes, and there's a color photo of each bottle beside the tasting notes. You can find it. And I've things have changed. It's got a lot more of the smaller distilleries in it. I think any distillery in Canada that's doing something interesting is at least represented in the tasting notes, and I talk about it as much as I can in the text as well. So yeah, it's pretty current, quite honestly. It's really quite current, and it's really. Pardon me?
If they buy this book, they can go to the Victoria Whiskey Festival next over in January. I believe tickets are on sale. I'm pretty sure.
You can still get them at the Strath. The Strath still has tickets for sale.
Bring Davin's book, and he will sign it right there. I highly recommend it. I've been to the show about 2 or 3 times. But since Brian lives in Spokane, he'll probably go. I believe he's going this year. Since he's basically next door, kind of in Washington State. But buy Davin's book because it's really good. I mean, anything you need to know, and I love books like this where they're comprehensive. It's all you wanted to know about Canadian whiskey, but was afraid to ask. It's a great book for it. Davin is the guy. I often call you the Michael Veitch of Canadian whiskey, but then people will go, who the hell is Michael Veitch? Well, he's the American version of Davin. That's all. That's who he is. But yeah, please buy Davin's book. Get out there. Go see Davin at Victoria. Also, you'll probably be at a couple other places throughout Canada. Are you coming down to the U.S. for any reason?
I'm resisting travel to the U.S. I tell you, it was painful not going to Tales of the Cocktail. But, Canadians love America and we love Americans, but we're willing to take the hit, to feel the pain of missing our American stuff until you guys realize we're never going to be the 51st state.
Oh,
The tariffs, we can survive the tariffs. That's all.
Canadians have such you've had produced so many guys with such good senses of humor. John Candy, Dan Aykroyd. Yeah, it's a joke. It ain't gonna happen. I mean, like I said, I used to joke about it being the 51st state for years. Now I've set my sights on Greenland. Actually, you know what? When I lived in Ireland, a guy joked, well, he kind of joked, he was only half joking, that years ago, back in the late 70s, he wanted Ireland to become the 51st state. That way he thought it would get the British off out of Ireland. I'd go for that if I had a say in it, sure. Anyways, we hope to see you soon, either here or there. Let us know of your travels, and we'd love to have you back, especially as time goes on, because the Canadian distilling world is just always exploding. It's fascinating.
It changes so much, yeah.
Big time. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Davin. It's good to see you, fella.
Thanks for thinking of me, Marty.
Thanks for spending time with us on I Drink, Therefore I Am. You can watch every episode of the podcast inside Hospitality Nexus, a global, human-first platform bringing the hospitality ecosystem together in one place. Inside the Nexus, it's a career fair that never closes, connecting industry leaders, educators, students, employers, and partners through real presence. Create your free account and explore the community at hospitalitynexus.org. And until next time, sip thoughtfully, drink responsibly. Slán Che.